Are you introverted or extroverted? Are you more direct or indirect? How do you respond to conflict? We ask ourselves these questions in an attempt to understand ourselves better, or maybe in an attempt to define ourselves. We're obsessed with categorizing every behavior we exhibit, whether good or bad, right or wrong. Does it represent the person I want to become? Does it represent the person that I am? Or at least who I think I am. We do personality tests, mbti, astrology signs, and we constantly seek to categorize ourselves. We become so obsessed with self-definition and self-awareness that it starts to actually set us back. But before we discuss this any further, welcome back to Mooney. Did you guys like this intro? I've been switching things up a little bit lately. Also, do you guys like my hair? I cut my hair. It's shorter now. If you didn't notice, it's the same haircut, but it's just shorter. Anyway, let's move on. Today is a really nice sunny spring day, and honestly, I tend to focus more on myself during the season, which is why I also cut my hair and fix how I look usually during the season. But I feel like as nature comes back to life, we tend to feel the need to reorganize ourselves, which I think is why these past few episodes I've been talking about the self and sort of issues relating to that. As I was watching videos on YouTube, as I always am, I came across a video that made me think long and hard. This video was titled, "I am too self-aware and it's ruining my life." In this video, the creator is trying to say that she is way too self-aware of who she is, to a degree that it's actually starting to set her back. She knows everything, her triggers and everything that she is, her personality, but she feels like she's always stuck in sort of a paradox and she can never change. And when I watched this video, I immediately agreed. In fact, it was a conversation that I've had with myself before, because I'm aware of who I am. I know my triggers, I know where they stem from, but despite that, I don't think it has necessarily pushed me that hard to change or become a better person. If anything, I think it made me more aware of who I am as a person, and in a direct or indirect way, grow comfortable with that and stop trying to change, because I start making excuses like, that's just the type of person I am. How do I know that's the type of person I am? Because I've never tried to prove otherwise. I kind of decided as a rule of some sorts that this is who I am, and I never try, because that's who I decided that I'm going to be. It's kind of weird to explain. I don't know. It's a little bit weird. But anyway, I feel like we as a society are deeply obsessed with our behavior, especially with social media nowadays. I do think that self-awareness is important. Do not get me wrong, okay? That's not what I'm talking about. But I do think that it's the obsession with definition and sort of categorization and boxing a human being into really overly simplified and very narrow boxes is what's actually causing us to become more rigid in our lives. Because we never grow as a person, we start to become stuck and get extremely unhappy. If you think you're introverted, I think I'm introverted. I may not put myself in situations where extroverted people would usually put themselves in, because I've decided that I'm just not the type of person who enjoys those things, right? And you might not try certain activities because you proclaim that these certain things do not interest you. You might not try shows or books or hobbies, and in the process, you start to limit who you are. Start convincing your brain of what you can and cannot do, and you start placing limits on yourself as a person, and you start not allowing yourself to discover maybe otherwise, right? If you tried something and you hated it, valid, okay? You tried and you know better now. But I feel like we usually just decide that in advance. People are multifaceted, right? We can be introverted with some people and extroverted with others. We can be more direct with some people and more reserved with others. Your personality can be different with different people. And by the way, that's extremely normal. I see some people call that being two-faced, but that's just how a human works. Actually, we just tend to acclimate our behavior and to fit the energy and the personality of the person in front of us. So yeah, it's actually just completely normal, by the way. But think about it. If different people in your life were to do a personality test with you in mind, they get the same result as you? And would they get the same result with each other? Probably not, because you kind of change, right? You are different with different people. Not only that, but people change with time. Like some parts of your life, you're extremely sociable and outgoing, and other parts of your life, you enjoy solitude and being alone and having as little friends as possible. And as you grow and you experience things, you start discovering parts of yourself that you didn't already know that they existed, and then suddenly you have a whole new personality, right? It's not really a whole new personality, it's just you're discovering more parts of yourself, right? But that's why when you do personality tests, they tend to like be different at different parts of your life, because you start to change. And this article in the Times titled, "Are Personality Tests Actually Useful?" According to Jamie Lane Derringer, I hope that's how you say the name, but they're a scientist at a University of Illinois, works with the intersection between personality, psychology, and genetics. They say, take Myers-Briggs, which is IMPT, if you're not familiar. It distills a person's traits into 16 personality types, such as ESFJ, extroverted loyal, ENTP, extroverted imaginative. There are more personality types than that, Derringer says. Plus, the tool frames personalities around positivity, omitting more negative traits, neuroticism, or being conscientious. It's a great marketing machine, she acknowledges. People love hearing good parts about themselves, but certainly not comprehensive. I don't think the complexities of a human mind can be quite captured by such narrow-defined categories, especially when humans exhibit different behaviors under different emotional states, and these behaviors tend to shift over time. As mentioned above as well, people dislike acknowledging the bad parts of themselves. And because of that, it becomes a little too hard to even identify with it. But people do really believe those really small constraining definitions of themselves. And they tend to acclimate their behavior, either consciously or unconsciously, to these definitions that they've decided on. Humans are complex, right? You're never either one or the other. And it sounds harmless, right? Like, so what? I say I am a Virgo, right? Well, according to the therapist in the same Times article, Erica cautions her therapy clients to not over-identify with the results. She's seen people get too invested in their personality type, which prevents them from allowing themselves to grow and change. Or they might push themselves into a job that's not the right fit because their personality test indicates that they should enjoy it. It's important to remember that the test does not determine who we are, she says. We get to determine who we are. But I think that's exactly why we get stuck. It's because we hold on to these preconceived notions of who we are, whether it's from a personality test or what we've already decided in our brains who we are. And I'm sure we were those people at some point, but are we still those people? I don't know, probably not. People change. You change every single day, and it's a natural process of being alive. You grow and you shift into someone else. And as you grow, you outgrow habits and hobbies and routines and people and jobs, right? But if you're convinced that that's the only thing that's right, you try so hard to grab onto that version of yourself. And then you grow unhappy and you start feeling stuck. And you're confused. Why? Because you feel like you've done everything right. You're acted the way that you think is correct. Why are you still stuck? Why are you still unhappy? And I think that's a cycle that a lot of people tend to get stuck with. We see this in like midlife crises. I think midlife crisis is just someone who's grown older and discovered other parts of themselves and then realized that the life that they've chosen is not the life they want to live anymore, and it gets them extremely depressed. But I think that's like the hardest part for a lot of people. It's really hard to get out of that cycle. And it's hard to come to terms with the fact that some of the decisions that you made or the coping mechanisms that you follow or the people you hang out with no longer you are. But you're an ever-changing person and you can't control that. You have to allow yourself to let go. Another thing I notice is that we tend to blame behavior we don't like about ourselves as just who we are. And like, for example, I'm not an asshole. I'm just blunt. I just say it as it is. It's like, well, I think you're just being impolite. Rather than change an unpleasant thing about ourselves or take accountability, we tend to blame like some untold force. But it's easier to do that than to admit that we have outgrown our major or that we don't know ourselves, or that we're constantly changing and you can never truly understand who you are, or that you have to take accountability and continue to work on yourself as a person. Now, why are we like that? I think there are like multiple reasons. I think growing up I was super introverted, and realizing that many other people were just like me actually helped me feel a lot less alien. I think it just feels so good to be understood even by yourself. So yeah, I totally understand where the curiosity comes from. Another thing I think is belonging. It's like a club you automatically get put into with other people who are like you. It's sort of like social currency. You meet people with the same mbti or astrology sign, and it feels so good because you get to say things like, oh my god, we're so emotional, right? But like unless you're actually from like the ones that are bad, then it actually sucks, because you're hated across the board. Actually, can you guess my sign? Because I am one of the signs that are extremely hated. This is a hint, by the way. The other one I mentioned is obviously control, right? We live in a very unpredictable world. It is filled with obstacles, curveballs, and dangers that come at you from every single direction. And having these categories can feel like a form of control. I know I will react like X, Y, and Z, or that person behavior is X, Y, and Z. It's just like an easier way to feel like you can predict a situation and control it. But the truth is, you can never predict situations, people, or yourself. I also have an obsession with control. It's something that I've come to terms with over the past year. But let me tell you what, life sucks, okay? And shit happens. And you will never be able to control life, okay? You'll never be able to control people, and you will never be able to guess, okay? And predict how people are, okay? So you have to let go. You can never grow if you do not allow yourself to get out of this preconceived notions of what you consider is safe. No matter how much you try to apply these types, signs, or definitions, it will never help you make sure you are safe. Letting go is super important. Finally, I've talked about this a little bit earlier, but to escape accountability, it's just so much easier to blame you or yourself or everything around you than to just say, yeah, I was an asshole, I was rude, I was a jerk, my behavior isn't correct, I have anger issues, I need to change myself, I need to work on these issues. It's so much easier to just say, that's just who I am, that's my personality type, I am a water sign, so I'm just very emotional, and that's how it is, that's how it works. Is that correct? I don't know if water signs are emotional, but I assume, because I feel like it makes sense. But anyway, I just think it's a way to get out of facing and confronting yourself, and also confronting your situation and your behavior. Anyway, what do you guys think? Do you feel like you are stuck in boxes that you've created yourself? I personally really relate to this conversation. I am trying to convince myself to let go of control and allow myself to grow and change and be different. I try my best to not write something off unless I've tried it. And I mean, like, it's a silly thing, but it's like a small example. It's like there's so many food that I refused to eat back in the day, and now that I've tried, I'm like, oh wait, I actually do like these things. And I discounted them and refused to try them because I was just sure that I would never like these things. Like, imagine if I had remained stubborn and refused to even try. And that's why I think it's so important to just try. Anyway, that is all for me today. Hope you guys enjoyed my little rant. Let me know what's going on in your brains these past few weeks. I would love to hear about that. I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya. Oh, please like and subscribe. It really helps this channel. Also, leave a little comment. It really does help this channel. And I will see you all very, very soon. Bye bye.